Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Trackmania. We are back. We are here again. Got the Mickey Mouse t-shirt on. I'm joined by the beautiful man at my side, Turbo. We are back. We're here to talk some more crap about Trackmania. Of course, we've been away for a few weeks. We do apologise, especially in my part, for being a bit poor in communicating as and when we were going to be back, but also a little bit of a change-up. As you do see, there is only two beautiful faces in front of you instead of 2.5, of course, with Eirik, unfortunately, has now decided to move on from Let's Talk Trackmania and will not take such an active role. First of all, I'd just like to thank Eirik, of course, initially approaching me for the Let's Talk Trackmania idea, and also being a very important part of the Let's Talk Trackmania project for the past essentially few months. Always had a great input, and hopefully he'll be joining us in the Twitch chats or maybe for some guest appearances in future. But big thanks to Eirik, of course, and we're sad to see him go. But also, I mean, we are back once again. It is only two faces you're going to see, but you are going to still hear a lot more about Trackmania, so no need to worry. But of course, first of all, I'm your host, TMScotsman, as I'm sure you guys know by now. And this is our beautiful man, LuckersTurbo, who's either in that direction or this direction. I've forgotten. But anyway, we are back, guys. And how are you, Turbo?
Yeah, I'm feeling very good. Just had a little bit of a breather on Tuesday, but I'm actually happy to be here again. So how are you doing, man? Hopefully you're doing as good as me.
Spectacular. The smile hasn't left my face since I known that I would be getting a little candlelight dinner with you. You know, he was going to get the lighter out and everything. Here we go. You know, wait, hold on. Here we go. No, there we go. Candles in the chat, guys. But anyway, also an important point to note, as we have been away for quite some time, I've mentioned that for probably the 5th time so far, that we, of course, this podcast is brought to you and is produced by ESAC, Electronic Sports Arena Challengers. And of course, now Competition Premiership, TM Stars, of course, is now open for registrations on ESAC. So definitely go and check that out, guys. Get your teams registered and get back into, of course, one of the most famous team tournaments in Trackmania, CPS, coming back for what I believe is its 22nd edition. I'm going to be playing it, so I hope you guys will too. But we have been away for a while. I don't know what you've been doing since we've been gone, but me personally, I've grown like 0.2 of a beard. I'm now fit for retirement age. And I understand you had a birthday as well, only a week or so after we had our little bit of a break. So we're both more wizened. We're both, more experienced in life. And I feel like that qualifies us to, take the higher ground when we're talking about some of these things, all them young ones we can say now, since we're both boomers. But enough about all the kind of midlife crises I'm going on. Just to start us off with, as I said, we've kind of took a lot of our episodes previously talking about Trackmania Grandleague. We've got a lot about that to talk about. Of course, 2 or 3 missteps of which we've missed. Some other things, such as there was an issue last week with Opengrandleague. Also, how the kind of game's been progressing through the last few weeks. There's been a new events tab been opening. There's, of course, been a new fall campaign. There's been some kind of issues in communication, it seems to be like. But what are kind of some stories for the last few weeks which you've been having your eye on, Turbo?
Kaki has ended, and with that, the fall campaign has started. So there was, for me, definitely an incentive that has been missed, or that is lacking, because I was grinding Kaki all September long. I just had so much fun with that. And yeah, now I'm really looking forward what the future will bring. Also that we have like 2 very big tournaments coming up with, Trackmania Grandleague being in progress. And then also the Twitch Rivals, where the last team has been announced today. And I'm really interested to see how this tournament will go out.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I mean, it's one of the most kind of talked about topics, I think could be fair to say at the moment. And just a little point, thank you there, SRK. A big happy birthday to Kappa and Kem, although I'm pretty sure they're not watching anyway. But happy birthday to them as well. But I think the only kind of fair point to start here is kind of chronologically from what we kind of have missed, and a kind of constant in our topics before, which was Trackmania Grandleague.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, we've Trackmania Grandleague has of course been going each week on the Sunday at 8 p.m. If you guys want to catch up on it, there are still 2 remaining steps. It will be on this Sunday and next Sunday. You'll be able to catch beautiful man either on the left or right of me at M&M Gaming UK. Is it? If I remember
Indeed,
correctly.
it's M&M Gaming UK.
Yeah. Okay. And for me, you'll be able to catch me over at Team Secret, as I'm going to be casting Evon's point of view for them. But I mean, talk us through the last few weeks. What any specific talking points you think for Trackmania Grandleague?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, it was from step 1 to 3. It was always that Aurel was really the child where I really was worried about, because he just lost his points 3 times in a row. And I also wanna emphasize that the top 8 is not set in stone. If you take a look onto the standings, it is super, super close, and you cannot say that the top 8 itself is set in stone and that we will certainly have spam participating in the playoffs, because only the top 8 will qualify to the playoffs. And thus it means that just the player field is super stacked, and you can really see that. You can also feel that when the cast is going on, that the player field is so prepared and everyone is taking the competition very seriously. So that was my impression, and also like my comparison to the prior season that went on. So I mean, we both casted it, but season 2 feels super, super more competitive, or like more on a professional level, let's say it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely say that to an extent. I mean, me personally, one of the few things I've been noticing about it is now that the kind of the format is set in stone. I mean, the format's been talked about to death. Of course, the points loss system.
Indeed.
You know, the middle 2 maps you lose half points. The last 2 maps you lose all of your points. We're seeing a lot more people, I think, tactically training. You're seeing, specifically, I've noticed the likes of Kappa or Gwen being significantly more prepared, or at least significantly stronger in the later stages of the step rather than the early stages of the step. I mean, do you think that is kind of tactics, or am I just kind of looking a bit too far into it?
No, I mean, Kappa was really one of the players I also want to stress on here, because he was, I think, going into step 4, the player who has lost the least amount of points. So he definitely knew what he was up for. He, I think, got first on the first or second step on the last track. So he has gone home with some points. But I mean, you can see on the other hand, he is sitting there at quote unquote only 71 points. So that's not a lot. And of course, if you just practice map 5 and 6, this will put a lot of pressure on your shoulder. But on the other hand, if you practice every map, we could have seen that at the with Evon, he felt completely apart in map 4, 5, and 6 on last Sunday. So I mean, it has advantages and disadvantages. And I think if you are just practicing map 5 and 6, then you have to perform. And if you practice all the maps, you still have pressure on map 5 and 6, because you have to perform there as well to not lose your points. So I think it goes either way, in my opinion. But I guess everyone who is not in the top and the lower 3 places can still make it. So if you get just a good step with 90 plus points, you can just make it. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, that was the kind of points we talked about a while ago, even in previous kind of podcasts, about the whole thing where, of course, Opengrandleague, you'll get a set amount of points depending on what position you get. And Trackmania Grandleague, you just simply get all the points of which you gain towards your actual point total, which can lead to, one person getting 100 plus points in one step, and there you go, the playoff ticket's booked already. But I mean, I see what you're saying about that, and I definitely can see different people taking different approaches to it. Of course, I've been very involved with Evon by virtue of casting for Secret and casting for Evon, in the sense that he has told me that he does prepare on pretty much all of the maps, of course, focusing more on the final few maps. And so you're not talking shit about my boy. It's only map 5 he fucked up on, so don't you start slandering my man. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I don't remember exactly how it went, but I mean, he went podium positions on map 2 and 3. If I remember correctly, he went into map 4 in the lead, lost half of his points, then lost all of his points by finishing 9th or something like that in map 5, and then got a good result in map 6. But I mean, again, we talk about it so much, but it just kind of illustrates like how important the final few maps are. I mean, we can't really say that enough about Trackmania, but enough about, discussing the formats and all the rest of that, since, we're going to be here talking about the same thing every week otherwise. I mean, we look at the results field, and one thing I wanted to mention to you, which frustrates me and also surprises me, is some of the major players who just aren't performing. You mentioned Kappa there, only on 71 points. Kappa, of course, being a Trackmania Grandleague champion, although historically hasn't really been as strong in this kind of stage. It's more in the playoffs, so he's kind of thrived when it changes to, you're going A to B instead of 6 laps. Also, players like Riolu severely struggling. I think he's second from the bottom, I believe, or close to that. And also Bren, who's a Grand League finalist. And we all know how capable Bren is. We all know he is one of the best players in the world in this kind of format. What's happening to these kind of players?
So I can talk about Riolu, what is happening in his life at the moment. So he was moving. So this is also like he has private reasons why he maybe is not performing that well. And maybe he has also maybe his think-wise is, I have 12 points. Top 8 has let's say 50 points. It's a gap that I cannot clear or something like that. I don't know what's going in his mind, but maybe he thinks that actually the Twitch itself, I mean, I'm just looking and he is playing the fall campaign. So he's not practicing for the Trackmania Grandleague as, let's say, it is Massa streaming. He's practicing TMGL at the moment. So just a very good example to list that. And you see, Massa is top 7 and Riolu is top 15. So maybe he thinks that the Trackmania Grandleague is not much worth this season. And he says that he wants to go into the combine match, and then he will definitely make it into the next season. But he has private reasons for that as well. But I haven't really seen him, he's really underperforming. He has 12 points. This is nothing. I mean, there's only one player who's performing worse, and this is Matt. But Matt, I would also not consider on the level than the other Trackmania Grand League players. So what is your opinion about that Riolu has 12 points? I mean, I've listed some facts, but on the other hand, he's playing let's just take that example. He's playing the full campaign maps now instead of practicing for the actual next step.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm personally not I don't watch a lot of Riolu streams. I don't keep up with a lot of Trackmania streams at the moment, so I can't really comment on whether I'm observing a trend here. But if we just simply take that example, it just goes to show how seriously he's taking the tournament. I mean, of course, I understand that Riolu is a very popular, and he's of course a partnered streamer, and as a result, it's not just simply doing what he wants to do all the time. It's not just simply that if he wants to train Trackmania Grandleague, if his viewers are not interested in watching it, then he's also going to be doing a bit of damage to himself by doing that. It's not just as simple as telling him to go and play Trackmania Grandleague, which I do understand, but also to another extent, it goes back to the argument we were talking about a few weeks ago. Like, these players are getting paid a momentous amount of money to play Trackmania, to essentially be Trackmania representatives for their brand.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand a lot of these brands are mostly interested in the exposure side of things rather than the actual results side of things. I mean, as I've said before, I was in discussions with some orgs and they were asking me which players they should pick up. And they weren't interested in how good they were. They were only interested in how many viewers they bring in. So I'm guessing the orgs aren't really putting as much pressure on them. But if the players feel so comfortable with the format to the point where they'll just drop down into the combine and they'll put a little bit of effort in there, then, I mean, sure, they're kind of playing the system, but I don't really like that. It's again one of the points I brought up previously. I think the combine's too easy. I think the combine's too easy. And if it was more difficult, and if it was, a threat, if these players were going down into the combine, there's a very real chance they could get knocked out. I guarantee you that would light a fire under the asses of some of these players who could be putting in more effort than they are, be it for whatever reason they're not putting in effort. I'm sure these guys have their reasons, but I mean, it is what it is. They could have a lot more points than they are. No idea what Bren's situation is at the moment. Some other players who are struggling, Scrappy's kind of struggling a little bit, whereas we all know how capable of a player he is. Tween also is a bit of a weird one. He's always been the kind of player who strikes me as like whenever we went to LAN events, you would always, one of the questions everyone would get asked, how many hours have you put in? Tween was always one of the ones with the highest numbers. He was always the one who offline would have no life the maps, very close to world records. And I'm just not seeing the same pace from Tween even in previous seasons. So I don't know if again it's a timing issue. I mean, we are hitting kind of late September, early October. I mean, I understand quite a few of these players are older, but if they are still studying, then this is a point where they'll be going back to some sort of a job. Some of these kind of different places are removing lockdown restrictions or adding some on, which is of course going to fuck with these guys' timing and their schedules and things like that. So it's a weird one for that, but. I mean, we have had some positive surprises, at the very least. I would say Massa being a positive surprise. Afi as well. I'm very, very happy to see how good Afi's performing. He's winning maps. He's very, very solid and consistent. But also, as I said, I've noticed a great deal more motivation for Massa. And, well, I can kind of guess what that's down to. But I mean, are you getting a good feeling out of Trackmania Grandleague now that we're a few steps in? I mean, you've, of course, I understand, been watching Pac's perspective. How's things kind of looking over at the Brits side?
So, Pac is... So, last Pac step was... Oh, my God. He played so well there. He played so good. And, he just lost his points. Or, like, he threw away points. He could have easily won the step. But, I mean, with 158 points, he's 14 points behind Carl Jr. And I think he's one of the contenders who can actually take the victory. But on the other hand, he is right now on holidays. So he's not able to participate or like to train the last two maps that much. Because he will come back on, I think, on Friday or Saturday. He said that on stream when I interviewed him after the match. So Pac, he could fall down a bit. But... if he would have put the same effort into the fifth step, then into the fourth step, he would be a contender for the victory. So that's my opinion about him. And also a thing that you have mentioned, and I want to pick up again, if let's say the combine match or the penalty or the relegation for a player, let's say 15th and 16th, could be out of the Trackmania Grandleague directly. If this would be a thing, then the TMGL will be so interesting. Look at that, because you have Bren with 15 points. Of course, one of the players who has lost, I think, a total of 80 or 90 points throughout the whole four steps. But then we have Riolo and Matt who can, with one good step, go back and claim themselves the 13th or 12th position, you know? So I think that this would be a way better system. But we had that already in the past. But I just wanted to mention that this was a very good idea from you. From your not wiser you and from the past.
Yeah, now that I'm wiser, I'm getting better ideas, you know. I like it. I mean, it's it is a kind of interesting concept, but not wanting to kind of dwell on kind of old topics too much. One other thing I wanted to ask about Trackmania Grandleague, it's been something that at the very least I understand Eirik's had as a bit of a kind of point of contention recently, which I understand you were involved in, is also the whole 16 streamers idea for Trackmania Grandleague.
Oh, yeah.
And not only are the 16 streamers kind of focusing more on their player, but Eirik basically is no longer involved with M&M Gaming as a caster for Pac, as a result of him being asked to be part of a cast which is more biased towards their individual, which, of course, I mean, me and Eirik have been casting partners in Trackmania Grandleague before. Naturally, when you are casting for people and you are representing a brand, you are naturally going to focus more on that. You're going to build up some storylines and talk a little bit about the individuals that you're casting on behalf of. However, it's a little bit different when you're naturally factoring someone into a broadcast a little bit more, and you're then being told that you need to focus more on this person, or you need to talk more about this person. I mean, of course, I understand you would then have been one of the parties who were being asked about that, and not in any way as if, we're trying to sour your relationships with M&M, of course. I certainly wouldn't want that. But what's your kind of impression on, first of all, being asked that, and, of course, understanding that a lot of other orgs would have been asking their casters to do that?
So, I mean, first of all, it's not the fault of the organization or anyone else. It's the fault of not having an official cast. But on the other hand, I would say that this is, better, because then you can also see that in the highlights, that is being created every Monday, or is being released every Monday after the actual step. You can see what has happened. And I think it's a good idea to have a biased caster to focus on the player. But on the other hand, it has nothing to do with a Trackmania cast anymore, because I am there where the action was on step 1, 2, and 3. And then they asked me to do a more of a bias cast. And I was really missing out on a lot of things that have happened. And then, the instant karma comes in. I'm not spectating Pack for one time, and Massa is fading the ending on, I think, the third or fourth map, where he just kissed the triangle or whatever there. And, you can easily miss out on some things. And this is the spirit of Trackmania, kind of. And I didn't even understand what's going on. So, I mean, I had my argumentation with them. But at the end of the day, it's not their fault that they're picking the system, because they have a sort of they have a contract with Nadeo, and they have to hold it, and the stream has to be biased. So I think it is fine. I tried it out. Maybe it was a little bit too biased, but I think this is how Nadeo was thinking the thing should be. I'm not really a huge fan of it. An official cast or 2 official casts would be better, but I mean, it's working out.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of Nadeo saying that it needs to be a biased cast. I mean, whether that's just paraphrasing or not, I'm not sure. But the problem, exactly as you're saying there, is you do end up missing out on so much of what's happening in the event. I mean, if we look at it this way, say you were watching a football match and you had individual cameras on all 11 players of one side. Like, you're not going to get the overview. You're only going to get what that one player is doing at that one time. So say, a striker's then going to score a goal. You're going to have to scroll through all of the streams to get the great content, so to speak, to get, the great play. And if you've got so many casts and each of them, for example, are just strictly following their player, in order to see the highlights of what's going on, you're essentially forced to, have 16 tabs open. I know that's a little bit of the kind of extreme example, but I really don't like the idea of having to be more biased other than being naturally biased. I mean, in a sense where you are representing a player and you're representing an organization. Of course, you want to will the player on. So when that player watches back the cast, they've seen that the caster's been supporting them, so that they see that the chat's been supporting them, their org's been supporting them. That's definitely been a very important point for Evon, as well as he feels very motivated by this, of course. But it's like, I, as a caster, I mean, I've not been personally asked by Berlin International Gaming in Season 1 or Secret in Season 2 for any sort of change to the way I naturally do my casting. And of course, I will be naturally more biased to who I'm casting for, but you'd be damn sure if something interesting's happening on the other side of the track, I'm going to go and watch that. That's the way it works for me. It's as simply as that. If there's not as much interesting happening, or there's no flashpoints happening, then sure, I will be able to then build the story more about the person I'm representing. That's the role I think is important here, is that you're helping build a story for the player that you're casting. However, you are a caster. You're not a point of view streamer. That's the problem I have with it. But I mean, I would always prefer an official cast, as exactly you said there, but it doesn't seem to be we're going to be getting it. And if it would, it's it's always going to go to the people with the highest number of viewers. I mean, I know that's a point I always talk about, but it's like there's arguments 2 and 4.
I mean, I would have actually had an idea. Let's say week 1 there is Geek and Virtual casting. Week 2 it's me and you casting. Week 3 it is Cena's Apple and Cousin casting or someone else, and then you will see maybe week 4, then again virtual and geek, that everyone gets a slice of the pie, so that at the end of the day everyone gets a cast, and then maybe there's also a second channel that you can watch, so that there's not too much of input. But yeah, what you've mentioned is actually a very good point. It is not a cast anymore, it's a point of view. I think that's a very important factor that has come with that, because the cast that I did feels so much, I think it's called put on, that I put on the opinion of let's say of Eminem. I mean, of course, I'm supportive to Pac because he's playing super good, and I've also talked a lot about him with him, and also met him in real life and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I'm more interested to not see what's happening to him. Of course, when he's up there in the battle for the first position, I'm gonna look onto that, but also to look who is right now in 9th position, who's pushing it. I mean, last map where Spam and Bram had that battle, that was a sick moment, and I would have loved to cast that. But on the other hand, I got rewarded with a moment where Pac has almost choked it. So you never know what happens to the player itself. So I would say that the actual think-wise of that, to capture everything that is happening throughout the match, is a good argument.
Mm-hmm. One of the things brought up there by Parhelion, and of course, guys, if you have any points you want us to talk about or bring up, please let us know, and feel free to tag either me or Turbo so I actually remember it.
Yeah.
But one of the things Parhelion mentions there was actually something I forgot about. Hillis had spoken before the game came out about some new features being brought into the game to essentially enhance the watchability of the game, if I use such a kind of a broad word as that. So I guess what was coming into people's minds were, say, new ways of which people could spectate, or different sort of camera controls they could use. But at the moment, I only really see the camera which shows just everyone on the track, which, like the helicopter cam, which is a nice idea
for the start.
But yeah, it's a nice idea until someone crashes. And it's like one person's away over here and everyone else is away over here. So the camera's like, all the way fully zoomed out. And I'm just like, this just isn't working for me, like it, and how it automatically resizes depending on how close everyone is. It's bizarre, but
a good idea.
I mean, it's a good idea, but it needs to be. Do you know what I would love? Right, I know a lot of you guys might not be familiar with this. Now, iRacing, right? iRacing has you can just jump in and watch someone playing, but there'll be a little drop-down menu next to where you can change. You can pause, rewind, slow motion, a live race. You can choose between, I think it's 20 different cameras, either static cameras that are on the map somewhere. So, I mean, there's an example. Give the mappers options to place static cameras. There's a fucking, say a mapper places a static camera at an identity or at the start finish or one of the important points. So we can then, instead of using the cameras for 1, 2, 3, 4 to press for a different player, you could have a lot more different options that way. And also different options like, say you could be having the point of view from cam 3 inside the car or cam 2 or cam 1. Like all that we have at the moment, but then so much different, like a behind view and things like that. I think there's so much more potential to enhance the viewability of Trackmania Grandleague, or just to enhance the viewability of Trackmania competitions in general. I mean, this could affect pretty much anything. I mean, could you imagine a Zerator Cup where one of the fucking crazy cuts they've got or something like that, there's a wonderful static camera there that, say it automatically tracks over time or something like that. Once you click on it, I think there's so much more potential there. But it seems to be the helicopter cam is all they've got planned, because it feels like unless you ask about this sort of thing, you're never really going to know anything until it actually comes out, which is a bit of a weird part. But it's weird so far, I think.
Yeah, so they're not coming up with innovations themselves. They're trying to let other people decide it again. I think you brought up a very good point with the cameras, because I mean, just for now you're spectating in cam 1 and that's it, and you see the battle going on, you commentate it. But I think with a good camera, you can really emphasize what is happening. And also with a static camera, it is so much it is so much more better. I mean, we've seen it with Spam, and he was casting the OGL. I'm not sure if you've watched it on not sure, I think Starglight or so, the map with the no steer freewheel over the thingies there. And he was also spectating it in free cam, and you can see how important a free camera is at some point. You can really see everyone making a mistake, and not only the two players in front of you. And this camera should be like a static. You have one option to have this camera, but not more than that. So this is a feature that we are in dire need of in Trackmania, actually. So really, it was a really good idea that I was not thinking about, but I was watching a lot of Rocket League videos and stuff like that, also with the instant replay and stuff like that. But the question is, can you compare Rocket League to Trackmania? Because in Trackmania, Trackmania is so fast, mistakes can happen in at every corner, right?
Mm-hmm. The problem that we do have with this is it is so fast, as exactly as you said there. I mean, the good thing is about iRacing is, of course, is it's more of a simulator. It's much more slowly paced. I mean, you're not going to see overtakes every corner. You're not going to see crashes every corner. So it's easier to kind of sift through. But one of the things which I think would be really nice for something like Trackmania Grandleague is the ability to, rewind or something like that and then go back straight to what's live. I mean, just a simple example. If, you're going through and, say, going through the identity, everyone makes it clean. However, you see that Tweens dropped from fucking 1st to 15th, and you have absolutely no idea why. You just see him driving about once you've actually managed to catch up to him. You rewind, you can see what happened, and then there you go. You're now covering more interesting points of the race. So I think there's plenty of ideas out there, but whether or not we'll actually see it being brought in is another question, I suppose. But one of the other topics which I think Parhelion specifically was looking forward to talking about is what we've kind of missed in Opengrandleague so far. Have you been kind of keeping track of how Opengrandleague's going to be going so far?
Yeah, I was watching Muda streams, who is right now at first position, ahead of, who would have guessed 6 French people, and then there's 1 Belgian person.
Fancy that.
Default. So really great performance by Muda so far, and I was not expecting him being that dominant. I was seeing him in the top 8, but at 29,200 points, man, that's incredible. 30,000 points possible, and he has 29,200. So that's a very great performance. But what I want to stress out here is that we only have 1 top match, and the top match itself, maybe it's only my point of view, looks a little bit like lower on the lower end than on the first season. On the first season, it looked very hard. When I played the top match myself, it was super hard to play for me. Maybe it's just my point of view, but it looks a little bit easier this time because a lot of mistakes are happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, with only 16 players as part of it, it does naturally get, a lot more difficult to kind of get into it. But I'm curious as to, exactly as you're saying there, that it's not the same even in terms of level and things like that. I mean, unfortunately, I've normally been busy when Opengrandleague is on. Hence, I missed a lot of the drama last week, and I missed the most recent weeks. I mean, I'm kind of seeing flashpoints from the like of, say, Darker being like Opengrandleague's Orel, and not Darker, sorry. Who is it again? Default, pardon me.
Default, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Being like Opengrandleague's Orel and just losing everything every single week in it. And also Granadi losing a lot of points every single week and that sort of thing. But I'm interested to see how it all kind of plays out when, we get to the combine stage of things. But so are you feeling kind of better about that? Sorry, are you feeling a bit worse about this season's combine compared to last, would you say?
Yeah, I would say that because so many mistakes have happened also in the identities and so I think that there's a huge gap between the players. And you can clearly see that the player who puts the most effort into it, and I think it's Muda and Call who are right, and also Tjalic, who are in the top 3, that they will definitely make it. And then it's a little bit of a clown fiesta, but maybe people are nervous, can't cope with the pressure. I can also understand that. I mean, Granadi, on the one hand, is a player that was coming from Trackmania United and has played a lot. But on the other hand, he has no experience on so many competitions. Of course, he has won some, but round mode is something else, or lab mode.
Yeah, well, I think one thing that's especially played well for people like, Grenade, Chalik, Link, and things like that is regardless of what their experience was before they kind of came into Trackmania Grandleague, a lot of them have been playing so many different kind of multi-style tournaments than I'd say the past year and a half, and things like that. These are the people who have been really grinding the past few weeks. Past few kind of year, 2 years, something like that. And it really is showing off. You're seeing these people. I mean, players like Link were always very versatile players, but you're seeing the true potential of some of these players. I mean, I guess with it being top 16, your primary competition is really going to be in the seeding phase and things like that. But it's still going to be interesting at the very least. I think these sort of players, at least it would then be coming into the combine. While the actual level being played in a combine might not be as high, these still are players who can pose any Trackmania Grandleague player that's risking the combine a sincere amount of trouble. Definitely, it's not just going to be an easy. Well, it is going to be an easy ride for pretty much all of them, since they only need to avoid getting 15th and 16th.
Indeed.
But still, it's still grinds my gears. Anyway, before I get triggered. But we do know that, of course, Opengrandleague is not immune to controversy. We have seen, especially last week, as I've been tagged so far 3 times in this chat specifically about this, is that what's specifically happened last week. There's the 4th, thank you. But specifically last week, essentially what was happening. Now, forgive me if I do get a few parts of these foggy, but if I remember correctly, after the seeding phase for Trackmania, sorry, keep going to say Trackmania Grandleague, but for Opengrandleague, yeah, we got there. It's like the Game Word Dual Cup when it was a solo edition. I keep saying Game Word Dual Cup solo edition. It always happens. Anyway, Opengrandleague. Yes, there we go. We got it right this time. So the seeding phase finished, and everyone was getting allocated to their different kind of levels: Challenger, Gold, Silver, Bronze, whatever the fuck the rest of them was. But there was already problems in the seedings, players not being able to connect to any of the servers, players lagging out during the seeding phase, with positions, of course, being extremely important in the seeding phase. But one of the main problems was that a majority of the servers actually went down going into the first kind of part of this step 3, I believe step 3, I believe they were on at that time. Essentially players were not getting either one. They were not getting to be seeded, so their chance of Challenger's gone, their chance of Gold, Silver, whatever division they were going to be going into is gone in the first place. And in the second side of things, players who did manage to get in seeding, in some cases, weren't being allocated to their server. Or when they were being allocated, they weren't able to join their server or something like that. And one of the main kind of causes of controversy was that essentially the efforts to fix this were all going towards the Challenger and Gold brackets. Whereas a lot of the people from, say, Silver, Bronze, and just the remainder of the players who were interested in playing this format were feeling forgotten about. They were feeling, the problems weren't being fixed for them. They weren't getting a fair chance to play the tournament. But I mean, what was your kind of impressions? I mean, I know I've kind of butchered my explanation of it, as I've not been able to research exactly what's happened on it. But what was your impression of last week's shenanigans, shall we say, from Opengrandleague? I was about to say Trackmania Grandleague.
I think shenanigans is a pretty nice word for that, for the Opengrandleague that has happened, not the Trackmania Grandleague. And I mean, at first place, this shouldn't have been happening, right? Because this is very unprofessional, and of course, errors can happen, or like mistakes can happen. But on the other hand, they have to be solved very, very soon. And yeah, I mean, you have to negotiate at this point. Will you help the players who are in Bronze and Silver, or will you help the players who are in Gold and top tier who can make it? I mean, at first I would say that I would have like interrupted the whole thingy, and also would have we did the seeding, That's what I would have done, because I think it's not fair. It's very unfair for people to have that. Everything good?
Yeah. So, do you agree with it being prioritized more to the,
Yeah, of
shall we
course.
say, the higher divisions?
Of course, man.
Yeah, I suppose it's natural that it would always get prioritized more to, you know, the players who were having everything decided, so to speak, by their, you know, whether they were going to be in gold or, I was going to say author medal there for some reason, or trackmaster. But yeah, the people who were going to be in the top 16. Don't you start. Don't you fucking start. Anyway, everyone's trying to distract me today. This isn't fair. I've got my favourite artist in the chat. I've got people hitting me up in DMs.
Ooh, yeah.
Whoa.
Okay, I see what you're doing there. Yeah, you're DMing there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so are we okay to start back again? Erwin, is everything okay behind the scenes? Can we restart this podcast?
Like OGL should have been right in step 3.
Yeah. Well, so in terms of OGL, I mean, I thought there was it is definitely something that shouldn't be happening. But the question I'm kind of asking, like, how did this happen in the first place? I mean, as far as I know, not a lot's changed since the last few steps. Is it that they've had more people playing? Is it that there's been some sort of condition that's changed? I mean, more than ideal people went on holiday. I don't know, but not trying to be negative, of course. Only positivity here, I can assure you. But you've got a question like, what's changed? What's changed to allow a very big issue like this to happen? I mean, it's something that's affected a great deal of people. And I mean, not to use Parhelion as a singular example, but I mean, I first found out this was an issue by going on to the Trackmania Grandleague Discord and just seeing a mountain of messages in general. And that's when you know you're in the Trackmania Grandleague Discord, when thousands of messages are going by. You know, it's fun. It's fun when it's not happening to you, I suppose. But yeah, it's very strange issues, which I must say, it's definitely problems which we don't want to be having for everyone. It's not just, you know, we don't want the people and contenders to have problems because, you know, we don't want their opportunities to get fucked. I don't want anyone's opportunities to get fucked up. These are, because one of the key points which Parhelion did bring up, and everything's been brought up by Parhelion guys, step up your game, give me some other things to talk about. But Parhelion also mentioned that this is what Club Edition people are paying for. There is not very many significant changes between Standard Edition and Club Edition, apart from the inclusion of being able to play in the Opengrandleague. So these players are paying, 3 times more per year? And
twice or 3 times.
Yeah, twice or 3 times, depending on whether they get the 1 year or the 3 year package. They're paying so much more, and they're not getting to play it. You know, that's a very, very big problem when it comes to people getting their money's worth.
For €10, dude, that's a lot. Dude,
yeah.
€60 for 3 years of club. Yeah, you can play OGL. That's good.
And then you can try and play OGL.
Yeah, and then you get left alone. So we just have this issue again. We are not friendly to new players, kind of, or they are not friendly to new players, because yesterday in my chat, there was someone new, and the community is so open and so like heartwarming to new people. They're answering all the questions. But on the other hand, it's like they're messing up everything, kind of. And this is so sad, man. It's super sad. I mean, you can see other games that are really stepping up. And on the other hand, I have a good transition now. Wait for it. On the other hand, we have the prize pool of the Trackmania Grandleague being 15,000, but we have one more tournament coming up very soon, which has a prize pool of 25,000 euro. It is the Twitch esports, the Twitch rivals in Trackmania. Yeah, this has been announced, I think 1 week ago or something like that. I don't know. And we have 4 teams, and the last team has been announced today as well. And there's one player missing at a Spam's team, but you can check the teams out here. I'm just going to post in the link. So the last team that has been announced was the team from Sadosh, which consists of Siremix, Papu, and Gwen. So very stacked tournament. And yeah, what do you actually think about that this tournament has a higher prize pool than the official Trackmania, like kind of World Cup. Or now the World Cup would come afterwards, so that's something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's not only just the fact that it's higher, it's significantly higher. You know, I mean, I know there's obviously dollars to euros and things like that, but that is like a good few thousand higher than what Trackmania Grandleague is. And it's a good thing that that's now giving these people a lot more opportunity to then get something from the game, although the people that are involved in this are all people who are making a shit ton of money anyway. So, like, I mean, okay, good, you know, whatever. But I mean, just to kind of, as you were kind of transitioning into that topic there, the whole thing about new players and things like that, this is what you would want new players watching. This is what you would want new players having their eyes caught by, is Trackmania Grandleague, Opengrandleague, of course, and Twitch Rivals. This is what you want new players to get involved in, either watching or playing. What the fuck are you laughing at? But anyway,
you were mistaken again with Trackmania Grandleague and Opengrandleague.
No. I'm past that. I'm old and wise now, you know.
Me too.
Yeah, you too as well. But like, I'm thinking while I'm looking at this, like, it's nice, but who is this aimed towards? It's something as well I was talking about with Eirik, so he's still here with us in spirit, guys, not to worry. But the thing with Trackmania having a Twitch Rivals, so when I first heard about that this being confirmed, so that we were going to have Twitch Rivals, I was kind of very confused as to how it's actually going to work, because Twitch Rivals is normally reserved for big Twitch personalities. So the ones I would think would be able to fit in there who have some relation to Trackmania, Zerator maybe, you know, Trillux, I guess you could maybe get Soda Popping in there or something like that. And then you would look at the, you know, very large Trackmania personalities. So your prime example being Carl Jr., of course. Then however else many you want to take from Trackmania. But the problem with this is there is no competitive format out there that's going to give these players a chance against people like Carl Jr., people like Spam, Bren, Riolu, Massa, Pack. There is nothing in the world which will allow these players to get these personalities to get anywhere near the kind of Trackmania players that they're going up against. So I was kind of questioning to myself, like, who's going to be playing this? Is it just going to be personalities who have a kind of a soft link to the game, so it's going to be remotely equal, maybe? That's the only way I kind of thought this was going to work. But the way they've kind of done it, I suppose, is okay. I mean, they've tried to mix up two big Twitch personalities with two kind of proper Trackmania players, so to speak. But it's really just kind of resulted in, like, streamers choosing Opengrandleague players, and then that's it. You know, like, it's. I'm not entirely satisfied already, kind of thing. I hope it's going to play out better than what I think, but I don't know. I struggled to see how Twitch Rivals would work in general with Trackmania. I see that they're going to be doing some sort of laps format as well as a tech track and things like that. And it's. I mean, as I was saying to you just before we went live, we already know who's going to be casting it, so that's not something we're going to be worrying about. But, like, who's going to be playing it, I suppose, is a major question that's been on everyone's minds. I mean, if we can run through the teams that we know of so far. So, essentially, Team Berlin International Gaming, you've got Trillux, Felixan, Massa, and, you know, guest appearance from Riolu. And the Zerator's team, he's got Zerator, of course, Kenny, I've another popular.
Bren.
Yeah, no, I was just saying Kenny's another popular. Yes, yeah, another popular kind of Twitch, YouTube personality, and then Carl Jr. and Brent. Thank you. We have seen Spam being one of the captains. He is partnered with Pack, and also Simply Nick is going to be in his team, and then awaiting somewhat of a fourth member. Although I believe he was saying on his Discord that instead of going for a player that's going to have going to bring them more of a chance to win the tournament. Say picking up even a Twitch personality that's a good driver, say for example either one of us two, or I don't know, Marius, or any one of these other kind of players, Mudda, something like that. He thinks he's going to go for someone who is just simply a kind of bigger Twitch personality in order to kind of bring in the essentially to have fun more than anything else, to kind of taking like the Solary Cup kind of approach, so to speak, where they were essentially picking teams. I mean, sort of like it was controversial to some people for some reason. Like Bergie was getting invited to play kind of weird maps, and it's like Bergie knows he's not going to be the best on this, but he's not being invited because he's the best on these kind of maps. They're inviting people that they want to have fun with and everything like that. Sardosh, you told me just before, Ceramix, Gwen, and Papu, I believe it was. You see, I'm old, but the brain's not going yet.
Yeah,
but
that's good.
Yeah, I'm not senile yet. But still, apart from essentially one player to be announced for Spam's team, it's weird lineups, I would say. I mean, what's your kind of impression now that we know essentially 90% of the lineup?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking the same. I mean, there was this announcement that Zerator was making in the stream, and it was like someone translating it with something like Twitch rivals, and then there was some other Twitch rivals, and I just like left this topic to this, or I let the topic like rest and didn't think about that anymore. And then Twitch rivals have been announced, and I was thinking, yeah, who will play, right? There should be any sort of rules that there are players that are good or bad, maybe only 2 Trackmania Grandleague players. I mean, we can see a pattern here. We have Carl Jr. Brand being TMGL players, Papu, Gwen, okay, then Massa, Riolu, and then Spam and Peck for all the teams. But on the other hand, then we have Nick being in Spam's team, who's definitely a good player, as well as Trilux himself being a good player. So I don't know, there should be a rule where the team should be balanced. But on the other hand, this tournament should be as well be about fun, because every team will go home with money. Of course, 2,000 or like 2,500 euro, I think is the price for the last team. Yes, it is, and dollars, I think. And then 10,000 for the first. It's a lot of difference, but still, I mean, I think this tournament is more about the fun than about finding or fighting for the first position. I think even the second place team or the third or fourth place team will be happy that they could participate, because for every streamer here, it's an opportunity. Of course, for a Nick here or for someone else who's not that known, maybe even Ceramix, who has lost a lot of his hype in the past. It's a big chance for them to show that they can perform well or anything like that on the big stage. So I think it's more about the publicity and to publish the game to the to people. But it would be better with a streamer that is more known, and maybe say it like that. Maybe have a captain that is related to Trackmania. Let's take the captains that we have here. Then maybe a pro player, a Trackmania Grandleague player. Maybe Spam can make an exception then and take Peck or something like that. And then pick 2 famous people, I would do it like that, but this has no pattern for me yet. There's no pattern how they pick the players.
Yeah. There doesn't seem to be any kind of pattern. It's mostly just appearing to be the top. The captain just simply say to him, right, okay, pick 3 players, and it's down to them to kind of go into some sort of balance and that kind of sense. Or, I mean, you could just go into it by the looks of things and just say, right, we're going to create a team of destroyers because you want a lot of money. And the thing is, that's fair, because this is much more than the biggest tournament in Trackmania. This is a higher prize pool than fucking Trackmania Grandleague. This is a higher prize pool than the biggest tournament in Trackmania, and that's bizarre to say the least. But it's in a sense where this is a big opportunity for both the streamers themselves. But see, I mean, obviously, I can't really argue with the Twitch Rivals format. It's their format. I can't really say how much it would work better. But one thing I would like to see, especially coming into a game like Trackmania, right? So if all of these people who are going to be playing Twitch Rivals are centered in Trackmania, so you've got people who, like Zerator. Zerator's already been very involved in Trackmania. All of his audience knows about Trackmania. Same with Kenny, through, of course, a lot of the Zerator events and Leon Esports and things like that. Then you look at Trillix. Trillix has already been very deeply involved in Trackmania through being a caster, through having played it himself. His audience all knows about Trackmania.
Yeah,
Well, obviously, all the other teams. Sardosh is the official caster for Trackmania Grandleague. All of his audience all know about Trackmania. I would be, if I was Twitch or if I was Nadir, whoever's involved in actually suggesting candidates, I would be trying to pick up a lot of those big streamers who were playing the game, day dot, who didn't maybe continue up with it as much. They're all going to be roughly at an equal skill level, as in crap, but that's fair. And then give them the run of the road, so to speak, and say to them, look, pick 3 people, because they're going to be, not only are they going to be bringing their viewers back to Trackmania, because these viewers haven't really been watching Trackmania, say Lando Norris, Lyrics, even Soda Poppin', if you want to say that, obviously you're really going for really big fish here, but there's going to be a lot of other streamers who were streaming it, which I'm sure would be more than happy to get involved in a Twitch Rivals event. And I think it is a really good opportunity, but also the thing that kind of irks me a little bit about this, like, pretty much everyone in this Twitch Rivals group has made it. They can all live from what they do, with, I suppose you'd say, the exception of Nick, although, he gets a fuck ton of sub gifts and all the rest of that, and he gets a lot of support. Yeah, he gets a lot of support from his stream, so he's beginning to get a good income from it. But all of these other people can already get a significant amount of attention, a significant amount of exposure, a significant amount of income from this sort of thing. I mean, I'm not saying I want them to go and pick up someone who barely brings in any viewers, but what I would like to see is essentially Twitch putting a few people forward who maybe aren't as well known. Say, for example, someone like yourself. You've been involved in casting, you've been involved in streaming, playing, whatever you want to say. Give you a chance to be part of this. That's you. You're on a massive stage now. You've got a chance, no matter what, of getting, a great amount of money from just the prize pool. You'll get a lot of people seeing your name. You'll get a lot of people potentially clicking on your channel. You're still going to get an insane amount of viewers from the amount of people. The captains are all very popular, very important people, so to speak, in Twitch's hemisphere. But that's what I would like to see from Twitch Rivals. I don't just want to see top personalities getting, here's another opportunity. Here's more exposure. It's like,
the rich people get more rich, and the poor are getting left behind. So that's what we're trying to say.
And that's especially a problem in Trackmania. Like, there's a little bubble of, like, I suppose it's expanded a little bit now, especially with people like, Massa getting so involved with Berlin International Gaming and Trillix that his channel's kind of exploding. But, like, you've got a little bubble of people right at the top. You've got 2 kind of people, I would say, who are in the middle. You would say, like, Nick and Mudda, for example. And then everyone else is just miles behind, Not that I'm saying they should then go for all these miles behind, but I think people like Nick and Mudda should definitely have a chance of being involved. I reckon at least 1, 2, maybe 3 others on the lower side of things should have a chance of getting involved. Maybe some of the people who have been grinding, khaki for fucking hundreds of hours, playing a lot of the campaign and who are entertaining people should get a chance. But that's a little bit of a pipe dream, I suppose. But I'm still looking forward to Twitch Rivals, but do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, what was it called again? I even casted it, I can't even remember. Catalan, La Catalan. When you had, like, 3 players who were proper top-level players. If I remember right, it was Bren, Cap, and Yo-Yo. And then the next best players were, like, Zerator, And it's like, you're going to have a good match, but then you're going to have one player lagging behind, and it's not going to be as entertaining. That's the concern I have with Twitch Rivals. But yeah, I've talked too much about it already.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with the points. It was a lot that you've picked up. But every player here, except kind of Peck, who's not really that much of an active streamer, and also I don't follow Felix. I can be wrong there, but Peck, I mean, he streams like once every month, kind of. He's very busy, of course, but he's not really, for me, a streamer who streams like as much as Riolu, for example, or as much as Spam or Nick, you know? He's not streaming that much. Of course, he deserves to be in that, and it is Spam's pick, but yeah, I'm not sure how they pick them. If Spam gets like a play, can only pick partners or something like that, but this will then only confirm the sentence you've said, that the people who are already on a partner base or something like that are getting richer or like getting more exposure. But I think Milmi also brought up a good point that Twitch Rivals is more about the game exposure itself and not about by the stream growth or growth of a streamer. Let's say about Pizzle, Shield Bandit, or a Nick, or someone like the other people, Muda or so. So I'm not sure about that, but I mean, it's just nice to see a Twitch Rivals with that. But yeah, I would have expected a little bit more of a pattern that you've mentioned as well. That you pick like one captain, then one TMGL player, one famous player, and then maybe one player who is a little bit more unknown and gets the reward. Nick is getting the reward of it by just playing in Team Spam, and it's a big chance for him. But for example, Team Trilux, they are all super famous. We have Trilux, Felix San, Massa, all very known, and then also Riolu, who has a very stable viewership. But it will be very good. I really like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it will be a positive thing overall. But when we're talking about game exposure, like as I was saying, like who does this really expose the game to when all of these people already have shown their audiences Trackmania? You know, like that's just the way I look at it personally. But I suppose with it being a Twitch Rivals tournament, hopefully you will get the people who are, who do watch Twitch Rivals, and then will hopefully kind of, drift over and kind of take a quick look at it, so to speak. I can only hope that. I mean, of course, some other tournaments are starting up soon, and Trackmania Grandleague is actually going to be coming to an end within the next month. I can't recall the exact playoff date, but we've got the World
November.
15th of November. Thank you. So within the next month, month and 2 weeks, something like that, you're going to have it being Trackmania Grandleague. You're going to have your Twitch Rivals. And then I'm not entirely sure what the plan is. Of course, then it's going to probably look more like some individual solo tournaments. I've seen some interesting ones being posted on Discord. Also, some online tournaments, as I was mentioning before, CPS and things like that. I'm not entirely sure. I believe Trackmania World Cup is due to start early next year, if I remember correctly, or very, very late this year. I'll need to be corrected on that, no doubt. Who will cast? I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. It's either going to be someone just completely from outside the scene who has who's a caster, so to speak, that they've brought in, maybe who's been involved with Twitch Rivals events before, or it's going to be virtual. Like, I don't really see there being someone else they would go for. I mean, yeah. Not really much more to say about that. But one kind of thing I wanted to, that a few people have been mentioning while we've been speaking a little bit and kind of wanting us to talk about, and I think it's only fair, since we have been away 2-3 weeks now, we do also have a new Nadeo campaign out. We have now reached fall 2020 in the month of October and ongoing. I'm curious when winter 2020 is going to be, but I mean, we'll find that
January
out, no
1st.
doubts. January 1st, okay, because winter starts in January. But anyway, yeah, facts of science, guys. But you've been streaming quite a little bit of this. You've been playing quite a lot of this. What's your kind of thoughts on the campaign so far?
So I also made a video about that, so you can check that out, where I ran through the campaign, got all the author times, and also got my kind of opinion. So I'm just gonna briefly summarize that. So when I first started this campaign, the tracks felt shorter, and also tracks like 2, they felt that you can hunt them a little bit better than the other maps. So that was my issue with the campaign, that the maps are not that huntable, and they're getting like boring at a time. But they're actually okay, I thought, till I was at map like 15, 16, 17. And then maps got really complicated and very hard. And I didn't really like a lot some of those tracks. I can't like list the name of them. But what I also find a little bit distracting is that some of the tracks were remakes. I know I appreciate the idea, but I would rather come up with a very, very new idea instead of making a sort of remake with some other blocks or some other directions. That's what I really disliked about the campaign. It's just my opinion. Of course, it's a cool idea. I appreciate that, but I would not do a remake of a track into a campaign. This feels very repetitive and also not that creative, if you ask me.
Like, don't get me wrong, the first day or two it was actually out, I didn't get to play it. I was simply catching up on Twitter and in some cases on Twitch, I believe. And that was the first word, that at least I saw in a trend, so to speak, was that a lot of people were feeling that it was repetitive and it was essentially very similar to the summer campaign. I mean, me personally, having played a few of the maps, I believe I've played 1 through to 15, if I remember correctly, is that I mean, obviously they're not straight remakes, but you can clearly see where some of them have been influenced, in some cases weakly, and in some cases very heavily by previous maps in the summer campaign. But the way I look at this, to me, this feels like a more refined summer campaign. It doesn't feel like a new campaign. It just feels like how the summer campaign should have been. Now, I completely understand why the summer campaign was a little bit more clunky, maybe it was a bit more basic. Because, of course, I mean, the people who were mapping it, as much as the same as everyone else who was mapping at that time, didn't understand the full extent of the blocks, didn't have all the kind of the combinations and how to do things, nailed down, because they've not had their hands in the game as long. I mean, even we're talking about Nadeo. I mean, Nadeo are focusing on fucking building the game, not mapping, where they're doing this, so they're not going to spend as much time on that. And of course, Nadeo has never really been the most creative when it comes to mapping in general. So I think definitely with the fall campaign, that's not too controversial, is it? But
yeah,
anyway.
But that was just like so boom,
Yeah,
but
well,
true.
But the fall campaign, in my opinion, is the refined version of the summer campaign. Now, that's both a good thing in the sense that it brings a few more techniques. It makes smoother surface changes, introduces different factors of the game a bit more differently, or shall we say, in a bit of a smoother way, a bit more of a refined way, rather than ice, dirt, grass, road, ice, dirt, grass, road. And, like, here's an ice map, or like when it was like the training maps, so it's just like going through all the different styles. Like, for me, it's better. It's better, but when I'm thinking of a campaign, when I've thought of campaigns historically, when you look back at Trackmania Nations, when you look back in United, Turbo, Trackmania 2, Canyon Valley, Lagoon, whatever you want to look like, or look at rather, almost none of them are remakes. They're all independent maps. They're all of their own kind of.
Wait. The turbo maps, the stadium turbo maps, are remakes.
Yes, apart from the stadium turbo maps, that's correct. Not all of them, though, if I'm correct in saying.
Yeah, but some of them, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll give Turbo the same kind of apologies for forgetting that. I've not played as much of Turbo, but I mean, if we look at the campaigns for the main games, so to speak, they've all primarily been like different ideas. There've been new ideas. Look at all the different kind of campaigns that came out even as back as ESWC. There was always something different. I mean, I suppose Canyon being the outlier to that, and Nintendo, like the Wii and DS versions, they don't even deserve a mention. They were good for
Whoa.
that was good for that was good for a Twitch trend, and that was it. But anyway, I just feel like I'm not getting as many new maps as what I wanted. I wanted to see a full new campaign with maps that are more refined, not some maps that are new and some maps that are refined versions of the original maps. Especially when, see one thing I will say, something which I wasn't too sure about. I do like the idea of segregating the leaderboard. Summer campaign will run from this date to this date. You can hunt the times on there, you'll get an award when it's all done, and then move on to fall maps. I like that idea, because one thing I hated was when you were seeing, you're still seeing even people hunting Nadeo maps from like fucking ESWC and stuff like that, and like maps from like 2006, Nadeo maps that just aren't relevant anymore, but people hunt it just because it's a leaderboard thing. I didn't want that for the new Trackmania. I wanted people to kind of go with the trend, to keep up with the times.
Go with the flow,
yeah. You want people to continue playing the game as time progresses, and it's another incentive for them to come back and keep playing when there's a new campaign being released every 3 months or something like that. But it's
3 months.
I don't like it. I would much prefer more maps being of their own style, so to speak. I understand it's going to get to a point when it's going to be like, there's only so many different kind of styles and maps we can make, but there's a massive community out there who can provide you ideas, who can, submit maps to you, who can get involved in the mapping process and things like that. But Nadeo campaigns, in my opinion, were never really anything special mapping wise. Like it was like the old kind of Zerator Cup argument. You wouldn't really play them if they weren't part of what they are. Like if Nadeo maps weren't part of a Nadeo campaign, most people wouldn't play them. They're just relatively basic, maybe entry level maps. But I don't know. Am I too critical of this campaign, do you think?
Yeah, maybe. I think it's hard to put it in words. So I think a campaign is very important for the game, because I think that's the first part you really get into the game as a beginner. And for me, at least, the campaign maps really, like when I played 14, 15, 16, I thought like, okay. And then I got like almost into the 20s maps, and the tracks felt so hard. I was just thinking to be a beginner, and I think a beginner would not finish those tracks because they were looking way too hard. So some of them I was thinking about, not the dirt map, but the full speed map, and also some sort of speed checks. I'm not sure if there's any safe way, but but what I can say, I was hunting the campaign yesterday. The campaign looks better than the summer campaign, and also the factor that you've mentioned, that the blocks have been discovered a little bit more and a little bit better. What the limit of the block is. Let's take the reactor boost ice, for example, on map 25. They see what is possible with that. So that's what I like, that they like kind of go with the flow a bit to see what is happening, what ideas have come up with the game. But on the other hand, the remake, because a map like map 8 didn't get a remake, but some other maps have gotten like some other parts with that. And dude, that really scared me, actually. Holy shit. Just someone coming in, I would just see that the mirror was moving, and I was, dude, am I in a horror movie? But yeah, let's go back.
I'm in a horror movie.
Yeah. But I wanted to have something very new and not to be identified with the thing that was created beforehand already. I get the idea. The idea is very good, but I just want a completely new map that people have to learn that,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the the later maps are way too difficult for newer audiences.
Mm-hmm. I've not personally managed to get that deep into the campaign to see these kind of more difficult maps and things like that. One thing that I am noticing, though, is there is a ludicrous amount of cuts in this campaign. I mean, I'm like the first map I played, I saw like people crashing into a wall with a reactor boost, making a barrel roll, flying through the air just to cut back over onto a ramp, and then skipping a ramp, and then jumping all the way around the side of a block to make it into the finish, all in one map. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, man? Like, I mean, obviously, I know they don't focus on the cut side of things, but it reminds me when people were always talking about Trackmania track of the day as being cut of the day, you know, and that's one thing. Yeah, like it's when I'm playing these maps. See, if I am the kind of person who wants to hunt Nadeo maps, you know, I don't want to like, and then I see that the top records are being done by some. I mean, obviously, most of these are skill based, the ones I've been seeing, but in some cases, that, you know, a ludicrously lucky cut. And then I'm like, I just don't feel the same motivation to keep trying to do that cut rather than relying upon technique and skill and things like that. But I mean, I suppose that's kind of a different thing. But I mean, I just don't think that cutting's really been a priority in worrying about for the deal maps for quite some time. Because, like, I mean, like when you've got reactor boosts going into certain places, it's, you know, I mean, you've watched enough of Trackmania players and Trackmania streams to know what people are capable of. So, I mean, the jury's, I guess, out on that one. But personally, I don't feel as motivated to play the campaign, having felt, you know, that it's a little bit more similar to the summer campaign. I've not really felt as like, oh, I need to go out and play the campaign. You know, I've never really been that kind of person to play Nadeo maps anyway, since, you know, as I say, I don't play maps just because they're a trend. You know, I play maps if I think they're good, or I think I'm going to enjoy them. But I've not really got that much more to say about the campaign. I mean, it seems people are enjoying it at the very least. As I said, it is a little bit more refined, but I don't know. Are you going to spend much more time in the identity?
Yeah, I will.
Identity. What the fuck am I talking about? The campaign.
What identity?
Getting old, guys. Getting old.
Yes. I will spend more time on the maps. I want to say identity as well, because they are just more. They are more huntable, but on the other hand, it's kind of discouraging me that not a lot of people are hunting the maps. Because, I mean, I was playing yesterday on stream. I'm not sure what track that was, but I was getting an okay time after, I think, 1 hour or so, because I was just memeing with the chat. And it was top 11. I was like, what? I was a bit shocked by that. Of course, we are 6 days in and people will start hunting the tracks maybe a little bit later, but being, I think, 1.5 seconds behind WR, despite this being an ice map with one ice part or 2 ice parts in the ending, there was one as well, being like top 11, that really scared me, because this shows us that not a lot of people are playing the campaign, and also that the campaign is progressively getting harder, because it feels like it's not feeling like it's being progressively harder. It feels like there's a jump from the one to the other map, from like, let's say, mediocre to hard or to super hard, because some maps are really, really hard. Of course, there were maps like 25 on the other campaign, the full ice map, or the full ice start with the reactor boost. Maybe you remember that. But I will definitely go and hunt them, also to improve as a player, because I was not really into the playing scene only with Kaki, but I think they're good because there's some versatility on the maps. There's dirt, there's grass, there's a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, they're of course nice maps, so I can definitely see people playing them. One thing I do miss a little bit though is like when you were playing in previous Trackmania campaigns, you know, specifically the Nations one was pretty good in terms of that. You had a very clear kind of difficulty change. Mm-hmm. Like the first map, I believe it went white, green, red or blue, and then black. I can't remember exactly what the order of the third and fourth ones are. Again, showing that I don't play Nadeo maps that much. But
white,
yeah,
green,
white,
blue,
green,
red.
Or so it's blue, red. I thought it was red, blue. But anyway, and then of course black. But
Red, yeah.
There was a clear separation when you were going through those maps, and of course it was based upon, like, to play the black maps you'd have to unlock them by getting gold medals. Like, so the white maps were easier, the green maps were easy. Then it ascended in difficulty the further on it went, and I think that's the right way to do it. But I think the problem with this is that you're only releasing 25 maps at a time. You can have 5 maps per difficulty level then, in that kind of sense, and that doesn't really leave you that much room for variety, especially considering how wide of a base Trackmania mapping consists of now. I mean, it's not just as simple as what they were doing before, which was basically dirt maps and kind of loose tracks on the tarmac, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I don't think there's really much room to do that in 25 maps, but I guess they've kind of backed themselves into that corner a little bit. But I do see certainly what you're saying there, and I think it would be better to ease people into it a little bit more. Allow it to get progressively more difficult rather than just throwing you in at a deep end after you've passed one certain map. People are drowning. And there's sharks in the water and all the rest.
There's
of that.
no water in Trackmania anymore.
Oh yeah, that's well. There's fake water. There's. Oh, hold on. Anyway, well, he's away, but yeah, it's. I don't really know what they can change about it, to be honest. I'm definitely thinking there's a few things that could be done with the campaign to make it a little bit more engaging. But I don't know. It's not going to draw me back to the game. That's for sure. It's just not. I mean, I can play the campaign for 1 or 2 hours to get all the author medals, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit and hunt cuts. I just cannot be arsed doing that. Like, that's just not for me. Maybe if a specific map fits, the enjoyment I'm having, then maybe I'll go for it. But otherwise, I'm just like, not for me.
So I was actually thinking about the things that were brought up in the chat. And first of all, I want to go into your points of hunting cuts on the campaign. I was thinking about this ridiculous map 14, where you had this weird reactor boost cut where you had to flip with the slow-mo and something like that, and then you jump into the finish. I was hunting this one for like 2 hours, and I got it once. I was like, yay, cool. Top 100, yay, cool. And I think it's cool when you get it, but it's like boring. Yeah, it's boring hunting a cut. So the campaign this time is a bit better. I'm not sure about the cuts on the new tracks. I've actually not seen them, but I think Milmy brought up a good point, that there's no reason to really hunt the campaign because we can already see. I mean, with the Nadeo last year, where almost every nation's WR has been beaten, and the community is progressing with every year. So that's a thing that will extinct in Trackmania. I guess there will be people still hunting the summer maps and say those are the most prestigious map because they were coming out at first. I don't know about that, but this will be a point that the game is now moving and not stopping with you have a campaign, now you have it forever, like United Nations forever, you see. Forever. Okay, I'm sorry.
German humor, guys.
But the game is moving, and you have a campaign every 3 months, and the map is not maxed out in 3 months, only when you have like A0 or something like that. And there's not really another incentive in the game. There are the stupid trophies which are fucking useless. Let's just say like that.
Bullshit.
But there's no matchmaking. Look at Rocket League. There's a matchmaking. Is it so hard to put a matchmaking for tech, dirt, and full speed? I think it's not, isn't it? That's something that's really bugging me. Oh man, but there's nothing to do in Trackmania at the moment. You can't just wait for the cup that will be probably announced in November or so, hopefully. And then that's it. We're all just waiting that OGL and Trackmania Grandleague is over. That's the current state of Trackmania, and that's kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like, of course, I am on my Twitch channel, so I'm assuming a few of you do or did watch my streams. Like, I've noticed that I don't really stream that much anymore. And it's just because, like, of course, I'm primarily a Trackmania streamer, and just as the point you said there, like, there's not really much to do. Like,
Yes.
I'm thinking to myself, and I've wanted to stream the past few weeks, the first thing that comes to my mind is streaming a different game. Because I'm like, I would go into Trackmania and what would I do? I would hunt campaign maps. You know, that's like maybe a few hours worth of content. Will I figure out the campaign maps? Will I start to get better times on them? There's no tournaments for me to train at the moment, as I'm having issues being able to compete in OGL. So there's no point in me streaming training for a tournament I'm not going to play in. And then, of course, you do have other tournaments like Trackmania Formula League, which is relatively interesting. I'd like to get more involved in that. It's just it's a terrible time slot for me. But it's like, that's why I'm so much looking forward to Competition Premiership Season 22 coming back for TM Stars. So the Tech Team Tournament coming back. Because it's like, I've finally got something to do. You know? Like, when that comes back, I can play tech maps. I can train, you know. Obviously, that's very limited to my view, so to speak. But even if I kind of try and separate myself from this, I'm just like, what really is there to do at the moment? Like, I can play, you know, track of the day. I can play campaign map. I can, or I can play community-made tournaments. That's pretty much it. Of course, Opengrandleague is its own beast with all the kind of problems they had last week, although I don't expect that to continue. But, like, that's something that's going to be around 12 weeks of the year, you know? So 6 weeks on one, because I believe they'll be doing 2 editions essentially a year. So 6 weeks of Opengrandleague at one point of the year, and then another 6 weeks at the end of the year. So, like, what am I going to do for the rest of the year? You know, like, it's I don't know, it's a weird problem, and I hope there will be something. I mean, the problem is I don't know what I would be able to say to be like, Nadeo would need to do this for me to start playing the game again. You know, I don't know what the answer is to that, but there isn't anything out there that catches my interest at the moment. Even matchmaking. We've had matchmaking. ESAC done matchmaking. There's another community-made project at the moment that is doing matchmaking. But the problem is, unless Nadeo do it, and even if Nadeo do it, it needs to be under the right circumstances, or else it's just not going to work. Because, like, Trackmania is a game that's been out for so long that there is a massive skill gap between the top and the bottom. So you're going to have placement matches where you're essentially, in the grand scheme of things, going to have silvers going up against global elites. You know, that's the way it's going to work. Like, you're going to have people who are entry level, who are just your kind of people who are just enjoying their time, having a good time, going about playing Trackmania normally. They're going to go into placement matches and get absolutely obliterated by people who are wanting to play competitively until it eventually gets all sorted out. So I hope if they do decide to do placement matches, it's going to be on something that it's going to be something. It's going to be well thought out. It's going to be very thorough in terms of how they actually kind of bring it out, rather than just, you know, a kind of matchmaking with, like, say, no elo or no defined kind of map rotations or anything like that. Like, it'll just be 5 maps, like, forever, so to speak. Like, I hope it does kind of it does grow, so to speak, and it's got great tools to start out with, so that people from all skill levels of the game can kind of come into it and enjoy the matchmaking experience, and hopefully experience a little bit more of Trackmania in general. But just with what Phoebe was saying there, I do definitely agree with what Phoebe says there, in the sense that there's a big difference between there is nothing to do and I don't feel like doing any of the things I could do. But I mean, what I would kind of list as the things I could do are things that aren't really it's not really things that tend to grip me. That's when I would then look at that argument, what I would then say is what's happening that so many people aren't now playing the new campaign. What's happening that of course some players are not interested. I mean, even in my sense, I don't really know how to say why I'm not interested personally. Like I said, and I didn't know the way to say what Nadeo would need to do to bring my interest back into just playing the game casually. It's just like I don't think they're bringing a lot of kind of interesting things to the game at the moment. I like the idea of Track of the Day, but it's just not a thing I can picture myself doing long term. That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, so Muda, the long-term motivation is just missing. I mean, you have it in League of Legends, you have it in the Rocket League. You can like grind there, and you can compete against players. And I think a problem that we are facing in Trackmania is that the online game was not coming out free to play. I think that was one of the main problems that we've had. And actually, people went to Trackmania Nations because of that. I'm not saying that this is a wrong thing or something like that, but I think we want to play Trackmania, and you're playing it for a purpose. And if you don't find something in the game, it is hard to like look onto that for 30 minutes or something like that and see, oh yeah, that's not my cup of tea or something like that. I don't know. It's weird. Of course, we play this game because we have fun. But Nadeo is building a matchmaking system at the moment. That's what I know. And I hope that this will work out, but they should have done it way earlier. And also, like, I don't know, man. It's an endless discussion with that.
Yeah.
I cannot add something to that because I think we've talked about that like 5 or 10 times already. And we are always coming back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, looking at what I kind of feel I'm missing a little bit now that I've had a little bit more time to think about it, is in the sense I think I'm missing kind of community-made tournaments. Like, of course, primarily kind of tech, dart, full speed tournaments were mostly made or almost exclusively organized by the community. Especially for me, having more of a background being a tech player, Trackmania Masters, TCS, PTC, ALM, CPS, all the different abbreviations, guys. Some of you might know them, some of you won't. But like, I think there's been a real important stall between the game coming out and now, which I suppose there's only really been able to draw comparisons from, say when Mania Planet 4 came out and the kind of the hoops that made kind of people jump through, so to speak. But at the moment, it feels as if tournament organizers are very hesitant to be organizing tournaments in Trackmania, the new game, as either it's not working in the way of which they would intend, or it's not ideal circumstances for them. I mean, we're seeing Shitfest has returned, but it's returned to Trackmania 2. And that's just at least the first example I can think of. And most of the team tournaments that are in Trackmania, I believe I've seen one, which was a full speed tournament, which happened a month ago or 2 months ago. Either that or I was thinking of at the very end of Trackmania 2. A fun speed tournament, that was it, thank you. But it's like, at the moment, there's not a lot of community-made tournaments going on at the moment. I suppose that was what I spent a lot of time doing in Trackmania, was playing community-made tournaments. I mean, if you're a kind of person that doesn't enjoy playing Nadeo's kind of style of maps, be it either in campaign maps, be it in the kind of the identity style of the new Trackmania Grandleague system, then there's really not that much else out there for you. I mean, Track of the Days aren't technical maps, and I don't mean that in technical as not tech, but they are not maps for the kind of person that's more competitively minded. For example, they're kind of miscellaneous maps, I suppose. They are exceptional in terms of how they're brought out visually, of course. The maps are always very pleasing on the eye, but they're otherwise relatively they're not as kind of exceptional in that regard. But I'm looking forward to the return of things like CPS. Of course, Trackmania Masters isn't really going to come back anymore. Feels bad, man. But yeah, that's kind of what I feel I'm waiting for. So I'll kind of have a little bit more purpose, as you were saying, so to speak. And yeah, like that's what I'm looking forward to. But what are you kind of looking forward to, at least in the future, for Trackmania?
Yeah, I was just
A
looking
new
into
campaign?
I was just looking to the chat, and I think, man, that's a rough this discussion. Actually, I had a discussion with Ben, like 3847, I think. Ben, the one who cut the PF map. And guys, first of all, calm down, please. Just I can understand that you guys are arguing about that, but I mean, the community is coming up with, that's just my point of view. So I'm referring to your question, what I'm expecting for the future, but not going into the topic that you have said, because I have just listened to the chat. You know, of course, I would not say that we are only saying negative things, but the community is suggesting so many good aspects to the game, so many good features that could have been implemented into the game, and they are just not listening to us, or not taking the advice as serious as possible. You could have seen it with the Trackmania Grandleague, that all 16 players signed a letter that they are not agreeing with the system, and you've seen the reaction and so forth. We had a podcast over that, but we are not saying that that they are doing a bad job or that this is negative. They're also doing positive things with Trackmania 2020 being released. That's a great step and everything like that. And yeah, I don't know. I think, guys, you're just taking it a little bit too much right now, because I think that we are just all worried that Trackmania will die in the end of the day, and we just want the best for the game. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I mean, before the game came out, I was hopeful, but also
Me too.
very anxious about the game. I mean, personally, I do agree that certainly some positivity is needed in kind of how we approach these kind of certain situations, but also I think one really important part to take into account is, for me, when I kind of take my outlook on this, or when I speak about this, is accountability in general, as in, for when a game is coming out that not a lot of people are happy with, or when Trackmania Grandleague is coming out and not a lot of the players are none of the players were happy with it. A lot of people are in general unhappy. A lot of people are feeling negative about it, and what we've spoken about before being one of the primary concerns is that there's a very big difference by Nadeo not listening to anyone and people feeling like Nadeo are not listening to anyone. One of them would then indicate that Nadeo are not giving a fuck about what anyone says, but and not doing anything about it. But the other is then at least insinuating that Nadeo does care about everything we say, but the proof is in the pudding. That's really kind of a bad way to say it. But what people are looking for results. People are looking for feedback being taken and being implemented, which you're seeing in little bug fixes and little feature changes and things like that. I think it's very important that Trackmania moves forward together, but I believe that through this has been there's been quite a big breach which has been made. There's been quite a big breach which has been made by promises not essentially being delivered and people feeling let down. That's where this breaches then came from, which has resulted in hostility, which has resulted in people being negative. It's resulted in people, I suppose you could quote, as being rebelling against the system, with the likes of the Trackmania Grandleague kind of fiasco, so to speak. And it's like, I want to see things being done about that, to both from the community's point of view, in the sense that the community for such a long time was being a very kind of positive driving force and seeing change, but that was not then being matched with change. That was being matched with silence. Whether that was silence as a result of not having the capacity to do anything about it, or it was silence as a result of not wanting to do anything about it. The problem is you'll never really know. You'll never really know without being part of Nadeo. So it's not really a topic which is best talked about a lot, since we don't get told this from Nadeo. We don't get told what's really being worked on, or if things are being worked on, when it's going to come out, or I mean, with some limited exceptions, but I don't know how I feel about this kind of. I mean, it's a very valid conversation, so to speak, but it's I don't really know where I stand on it, to be honest.
Yeah, so I don't really understand what Muller is saying. So are you just trying to be positive that they will accept your feedback? Or I don't really get your point there. But yeah, I think an important factor that you've mentioned is that the community is the part where the game develops. People are implementing new blocks, new title packs in Mania Planet and everything like that. And something like that. And we try to do that. And yeah, well, what else can I say? I think your speech from that was very precise. And I don't get the debate in the chat, because I think we are paying respect to Nadeo because we are just worried about the game. And I think that's the biggest respect that you can have to the developers, that you're taking the time, you're doing constructive feedback, maybe a little bit more angry because it was focused on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Take a look onto the lab script or whatever, where Spam's Cup couldn't take place for several months. But they're giving them respect. But on the other hand, they are saying that we are negative because we are criticizing the game. So it's a bit of a paradox situation that we are giving them criticism and they think that's negative, but they all only want positivity. So this makes no sense, because then we only should say that, oh, the game is great, everything is perfect in here, but it is not. There are so many things that can be improved that were not implemented into the game.
I mean, my kind of closing thoughts on the subject. I mean, I think it's always important whenever either party is arguing for something or against something, that it does maintain, it does stay respectful, which as a point that I definitely agree with Mud on, that
Indeed, me too.
that I think that it should never get to the point where toxicity is involved, and that has been, of course, the community has been very guilty of that, beginning to become very aggressive, but also in some cases Nadeo have been falling a little bit guilty of that sort of thing, although they normally hold themselves to a bigger standard on this. But I think what the main problem with this is in here is perceptions, is how the community are seeing what's happening and what's not happening. So they've seen a game which is significantly more expensive, but they're feeling like they're getting less quality than they did in Trackmania 2. And people already had a lot of problems with Trackmania 2. But we talk about how many things we've complained about previously which haven't worked, what people are complaining about in the chat, which isn't there yet, isn't working, should have been there, or they should have done this, or they should have done that. I mean, this is all neither here or there. I mean, shit happens. Games don't get released perfectly. That's the way today's gaming world is. Sure. But I think arguably if you're to look at Trackmania 2020 as it is now, and Trackmania 2 Stadium, I mean, I don't really see that we've really made that much more improvements in terms of the experience you're then giving to the experience you're then giving to the player. With, as I said, the capacity at the moment for community-driven tournaments seems to be very poor. I mean, only recently, and perhaps still ongoing, I've not managed to confirm that as I've only been casting Trackmania Grandleague, we've had spectator issues, which makes in some cases spectating matches impossible. We've seen issues regarding players when they're in game being unable to see other cars due to the result of whatever sort of inconsistencies or whatever netcode issues or something like that. And there is issues which we're seeing, which have been there since launch, but the community want to know Nadeo are working on it. Nadeo are getting better at telling the community that they are working on it, but the community has given a great show of faith by committing to pay £30. I'll just say £30. I'll give euros, whatever. €30 a year for a game which is not showing its worth at the moment. I mean, I don't know if that's too controversial of a statement, but for the club edition, you're not getting your 30 euros worth. I mean, even just simply if you look at the things that were promised when the game first came out, not all of the features are then implemented. Some are due to be implemented, which is, okay. But if we set the standard of the previous games, there's not really that much more which the community are being given, which is then justifying all this, which is then justifying their hopes being kind of driven to a maximum, but then being brought straight back down to ground level again. That's kind of what I think's been the main issue here, is that people have been so much more positive about the game because they've been led to believe that it was going to be much better, but it's not yet much better, and it's still costing them significantly more. So, I mean, you can take my words for what they're worth. I'm sure some of you out there will agree and some of you won't agree, but I don't care, to be honest. Yeah. But that was my closing thoughts on it. I mean, you guys are more than welcome to continue discussions on it. I mean, maybe it's something we'll pick up on in future podcasts at the very least. But any closing thoughts from you on that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of opinions, and also I think perception is a very good word, that we think about things differently. And my expectation from Trackmania beforehand was that it could be, or it had the potential of becoming the next big esport title because of its simplicity. You can understand it. I mean, you brought up an improvement already with the fixed camera for the identity, or for some sort of battle or anything like that. I think, I'm not a coder or anything, but I think it's not that hard to implement, isn't it? I wouldn't say that this is so hard, but I thought it would be the next game, but it wasn't. So we not got disappointed. But the thing is, I think the game has not time, 1 year time, and then everyone will come back and, hey, I've waited for Trackmania to be the next game. They need to do it now or never. And I think that's kind of the last chance for Trackmania to go for, that this will boom again. Of course, there can be a Zerator Cup, there can be Twitch Rivals, there can be some other tournaments that can boom the game, maybe in the right place, but it is only combined with luck, because right now there's not a real racing game. Maybe iRacing is there, which is an esport title, but I think we will see a decrease of Trackmania again. So that's just why I was so worried about that. And maybe I was a bit biased in this, of course, but it is a hard task at the moment. So those are my concluding thoughts. I mean, we talked a lot about that now, just because the chat was arguing a lot. But yeah, guys, if you have any more ideas or any more things you want to implement to this podcast today, feel free to do so. It was a little bit more controversial in the ending, but I'll just give it over to you then.
Yeah, but I mean, it's always going to be that. I mean, we're happy to talk about whatever topics are on, the heartbeat of whatever's going on in Trackmania at the moment, and it's a very active discussion. So I don't really see any problem in that. I mean, personally, I don't really see that. I don't really see that they are. I don't really see that Trackmania is going to decline, so to speak. I think it's going to go back to the level I feel it's going to go back to the level that it originally was, and it's just going to have these flash moments where it is going to increase in viewership. The Zerator Cup, Trackmania Grandleague, maybe, depending on what kind of people they have involved with it, and maybe we'll get another Twitch Rivals every now and then. But Like that's just the same as what we had. You know, that's the exact same as what Trackmania had minus Twitch rivals. So I'm then interested to see. I'm interested to see what their plans are for things to expand, for things to get better. But who knows? Maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't. But maybe that is, again, something that we can discuss a little bit more in future podcasts. We're already nearly at the 2-hour mark here. Yeah, I mean, well, time and good company is well spent at the very least, so no need to worry about that. But at least with today, guys, first of all, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone for spending the 2 hours with us. We appreciate you, even all you out there trying to torment us and keep us here that much longer so we don't sleep. But also, just a reminder for you guys, of course, this podcast is brought to you by ESAC, which also is opening up for business, essentially, for everyone if you are looking to be hosting your own events. Of course, most recently, the CPS tournament is actually going to be hosted on ESAC. So if you are interested in participating on that, you know exactly where to find it. And all the links will be posted and will be available on screen, not to worry. But everyone, thank you very much for joining us. That has been it from me, Turbo, and Erwin in the background. Big thanks to Erwin, of course, for
thank you.
Taking us on another episode today. And big thanks to everyone for joining us and being a subject, I suppose, if once a subject being our chat, having an argument with each other. But we're always happy to have you guys, regardless of whether you're going to be lurking or whether you're going to be giving us something to talk about. Thank you, everyone, for joining. See Marley jumping in there at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, Marley, nice to see you in like 1 year again. So hello.
Yeah, so it's a 1 year anniversary. Yeah. I know. But yeah, thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll be here next week. It may be we will continue with 2 members. We'll have a discussion about that, and then we'll let you guys know, so not to worry. But thank you, everyone, for joining. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your week. We are ending, Marley. I'm sorry.
You can watch the VOD on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, watching his or that way. I don't know what way it is. But anyway, catch us here next week. Same time, same place. And we will see you all later on. But however, catch this man's beautiful face in whatever direction we're going in at his Twitch or YouTube channels, and also at M&M Gaming UK this Sunday for Trackmania Grandleague. Not Trackmania Grandleague. And myself at Team Secret, we'll be casting the upcoming tournament. However, we won't be casting Twitch rivals because we don't have 300 viewers a stream. That's my answer. Anyway, thank you for joining, guys. We'll see you later, and good night.